usual for us probably, and you have to excuse, there's a lot of cockatoos and birds squeaking in the background, but it's a real privilege to be talking to you guys today. So we're from Frost Collective, as Danny said, and our purpose is to design a better world. Every single project that we work on, we want to ensure that we're adding value, we're being sustainable, we're helping increase organization, whether it's an individual or an organization, large and small. So we're really passionate about working with organizations across all walks of life, etc. Our breadth of expertise, we have about 40 plus people in the team, strategists, designers, writers, etc. And we're really focused on human-centered design, employee experience, brand strategy, brand identity, design system, environmental design, and motion graphics, property, place, etc. And we're working right across society, as I said earlier. Here's a few of the brands that we've worked with. And you can see we've worked for BWS, the liquor, we've worked with Wollongong University, SBS on a sports channel for soccer, energy companies, insurance companies. And so that breadth, we really believe that breadth of working with all those kinds of clients really makes us richer because we understand people better as a result.
And as an agency, we bring together, it's really the collision of culture and commerce and creativity. So ensuring that ideas address the business challenges and opportunities, and that our ideas are original, and our creativity is what helps brands to have impact and to stand out. And then also being technically savvy is important, obviously, making sure that the brand delivers beyond the page. So it's the collision of those three worlds that our agency brings. And we ensure that everything that we do, it's really important that we measure the effectiveness of our work as well. And here's a testimony from one of our current clients, when we help them to rebrand Strand bags and reset the customer experience for Strand bags. So really ensuring that we're creating a commercial impact as well. So allowing Strand bags to grow and ensure it was on track for its growth targets. And there's something else that Vince mentioned as well, is sustainability is close to our hearts. And we're going through the application to become a B Corp. So for those of you that have been involved in this process, you'll know how arduous that is. It's something that we're really focused on and aiming to become a B Corp this year. So that's a little bit about us and Frost Collective. And we wanted to acknowledge how excited we were to be invited today and to talk to all of you, and acknowledge how important startups and you entrepreneurs are. Working with a serial entrepreneur, Vince Frost. We love working with organizations and have huge respect for anyone who can make an idea a reality. So thanks for having us today, and keep up the good work. There's some of the entrepreneurs and startups that we do work with, from launching a premium wine to helping an ASX listed logistics company to create new brands, so and everything in between. So here's some of the startups and entrepreneurs that we work with to help them to define and deliver their brand and brand experience.
Yeah, our passion. A lot of organizations are just focused on making shitloads of money. It's not that we don't want to make money, but we want to do good, and we want to help organizations large and small. And sometimes when you're starting up, you actually don't have the money in place, and we can help work that out and help you be the best you possibly can be. And that's I think that's something that really, working with people and helping bring their ideas to life is what we're really passionate about.
Yeah. So on this page, Pollination, the brand's third from the left at the top, they were a bunch of climate change lawyers who got together to create their own startup, Pollination. We help them to launch. They're a global organization now in 12 offices around the world. And then underneath them, Hijack, you see the dog leash. That's an individual entrepreneur who had an idea to create dog accessories from reclaimed plastics and waste plastics from dog grooming parlors. So she works with sustainable salons to reclaim plastic and create something useful from it. So all kinds of organizations, big, small, national and international. Okay, so that's a little bit about us. We want to talk more about you and the value of brand. And we know that from working with entrepreneurs, from startups, often the question is, why should we prioritize brand? And we know you've got a lot of competing priorities, and you really are, stretched thin at this stage for startups and scale-ups alike, with lots of questions on your mind. Your focus is on your products, establishing your market, obviously securing funding as well and investment. And so often what we hear is, oh yeah, branding can wait till later. I need to get the product right and the market right. But that's something that we recognize is really easy once you've got your killer idea that you just want to get it to market and take it out there. And you've got your insights around your product. You know exactly what need you're meeting, what pain points you're addressing. But one of the biggest missteps that we see in early startup development is allowing that excitement of getting something to market and of marketing that gets in the way of developing your brand. For those of you that might not have read Philip Kotler's book, one of the daddies of branding, there's a phrase from him that we really believe in, and our work is testament to this as well. If you're not a brand, then you are a commodity. In a world where there's so many choices and product functionality can be copied, commoditization obviously is a big threat and a challenge. So why should you prioritize your brand? It's well documented that done right, your brand can actually be an asset. You see that without the brand, Coke's glass would be half empty. That Coke's market cap, not including brand value, is 50 billion, but including the brand value is 120 billion. So it really can become an asset. And regularly, brands and the intangible nature of brands do appear on balance sheets these days. So done right, your brand can be an asset. And also, you want to ensure that everything you've created, your value is in everything you've created beyond your product idea. And secondly, done right, your brand really can stir emotions and create fans. People connect with your why and what your brand stands for, as well as the product and what the product can do at a functional level. So ensuring that you're tapping into the emotional reality of brands and the fans and advocates that your brand can attract. There's a great book by Marty Numia, for those of you again that haven't read that. It's called The Brand Gap. And a brilliant quote from him that a brand isn't a logo, it's not an identity, it isn't a product, it's a gut feeling, which is very hard, why it's so hard for lots of us to define what a brand is, because so much of it is intangible and speaks to our emotional side, and it creates a feeling in our gut. And also, done right, your brand can stand out and give people to choose you. So in a world, as we mentioned before, of commodification, that brand really does help people to decide. It helps people to demonstrate their identity, their status in work and their lives, what they want to demonstrate about themselves. So done right, your brand gives people a reason to choose you over anyone else who could do something similar. And then this is not here to scare you. I'm sure you're right across this, but the common reasons for startup failure, 22%, so nearly a quarter of failures is due to marketing problems. And there's an awful lot of opportunity that's wasted when marketing is inconsistent or incoherent or feels inauthentic, and there isn't a brand there that's driving the marketing activity. So done right, your branding will help you avoid that inconsistent, incoherent marketing, wasted time, wasted effort, and wasted energy. Did you have a comment about that one, Vince? I know it's quite scary when we were talking about the 9 out of 10 fail.
Well, it's kind of reassuring. I find equally reassuring because you try so hard, you believe in your ideas so much that it's kind of, in a way, it's good to hear that not everybody has got it sussed and not everybody succeeds. And we've done that ourselves with our own startups in our organization that have failed, and I really hit myself with a stick about it continuously and regret decisions and moves. But sometimes it just doesn't work. But it's so important in terms of getting your brand right. People often say like it's important to fail fast. I kind of struggle with the idea of accepting failing in a way, because you want to succeed. You want to make sure that it is right. So I strongly believe that the branding part of your organization shouldn't be done at a later date when you have more time, because that often isn't going to be the case. And to ensure that you really try to get everything right in terms of getting the branding right from the outset. And it's not as expensive, as complicated as you might think either.
Yeah, yeah. So what we'd love to do is reduce that 22% of marketing problems contributing to failures, and look at ways that we can help to assuage that. So how do startups start right? With the green peas there, appetizing. It's 5 points, and that's what we're going to talk through, 5 top tips in the next few slides. But building a brand, it starts with defining why do you matter to the world, what you stand for, and then what you're like to interact with. We use the brand archetypes, which are based on Jungian psychologists, to define different characteristics of brands. But what do you like to interact with? That really helps to ensure that you are going to connect with your customers and potential customers in the right way, and also that they will they understand what your role is in their lives in the world. And then once that's established, it's building a distinctive, and that's the key word here, is distinctive visual and verbal brand identity, something that helps you stand out for all the right reasons. And then taking the time to define a brand framework. And that doesn't have to be in a massive presentation deck or a really complicated model. It's really just defining those 3 things we mentioned in the paragraph above. Just take the time to define that brand framework, and that gives you structure. And it also ensures that you have active ideation from that, so you can grow your brand and move into different categories, different sectors, and extend your product portfolio. And it really helps to make sure that when you talk about your brand, that it is coherent as well, and that when you share your brand with others, there's a set of words that you all use to grow and amplify the brand. And then taking the time to put a toolkit together, so ensuring that you've got your key assets, as in your logo, your tone of voice principles, graphic design, and messaging as well. And that makes sure that you can keep it consistent when you're sharing your brand. So those are the 5 top tips. We're going to go into those into a little bit more detail. So our 5 top tips to start right. I'm sure you'll all have come across Simon Sinek. We still use his YouTube or TED Talk from mid-90s, I think it is. It does look a bit dated now, but the key principles remain the same. It's defining why you matter to the world. What's your brand purpose? Why are you here? And importantly, why should people care? You might be sat there thinking, yes, the world needs this, but really ensuring that you're connecting that with why others on the outside in should care.
Yeah, and just also think about, it's really interesting working with organizations for the last 25, 30 years. You'd be surprised. It's not just startups that kind of struggle with this, but it's the big corporations come to us after 100 years of being in business and going, can you help us find ourselves again? We've gone off track. There's been a lot of change management over the years. The businesses have become, I guess, not as focused as it should be. And it's really fascinating to see these big organizations who are actually very successful, multi-billion-dollar businesses, who actually haven't got their why clearly set. And as a result, their staff are questioning, what are we about? Who are we, etc. So, sorry, next slide.
Yeah, thanks, Vince. Just some examples of established organizations and their why. So Lego, they make plastic bricks, but they're here in the world. Their why is to inspire and develop the builders of tomorrow. So people can tap into that and say, yes, I want my kids, or if they're an educator, they can tap into that why and really align with the brand. Similarly, Tesla, to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, and that why allows Tesla to work in lots of different verticals and different categories, from solar panels to electric vehicles, etc. And then Nike, to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. And if you have a body, you are an athlete, although most days I don't necessarily agree with that. So making sure that you've defined your why. Why are you here? What's your purpose in the world as a brand, and why should people care? How does it connect with people? So that's our first tip. The second tip is about personality. So I mentioned before that we use the Jungian archetypes, but it's really thinking about what your brand is like to interact with, and giving it some human characteristics. Importantly, how does it leave people feeling? So when you interact, and people interact with your brand, whether that's you know, through an app, through a piece of advertising, through an online experience. How does it leave people feeling? Do you leave people feeling excited, inspired, scared? And what kind of person would your brand be if they came to life? So, you know, not long convoluted exercises, just really thinking about what your brand's like as a person. And that allows you to also to make sure that you can make strategic decisions about what not to do and how not to operate for your brand as well. So some great examples of brand personalities. MailChimp has been through quite a transition over the years, starting off being really cheeky, and MailChimp has moved into being much more commercially focused and astute. But you can see their brand personality coming through, everything from their name, their icon, Freddie the Chimp, but then through their tone of voice, their choice of fonts there, so the different fonts, the serif and sans serif coming together, their colorways, and also their use of illustration. And all of that together combines to create the personality of MailChimp, and how that comes through to their tone of voice as well, and their advertising. So really making people think and acknowledging, you know, as entrepreneurs, as a startup, when you use MailChimp, it's a special moment when your business grows so much that your name stops making sense. So they're really connecting with entrepreneurs and business owners. A great example of brand personality. This is some work that we've done recently. We helped three amazing entrepreneurs. They came together to create a sugar-free ice cream. One didn't exist in the market, called Donada. Check it out if you haven't. It is delicious. And helping them with their brand personality. So their brand idea we defined with them, we co-created it with them, is fiercely free. So a sense of being free and liberated. And you see that coming through their tone of voice. So sugar, nah. And then even from, you know, to business stationery, so it doesn't have to be big advertising, but just to stationery and corporate stationery, how you can bring that brand personality to life through that. And using their brand personality through their tone of voice. When they launch, we help them to launch their new vegan dairy-free option. So again, the brand personality really makes it stand out, particularly in the vegan and the dairy-free ice cream category, where lots of brands are talking about, you know, low calories, etc., and quite dull and worthy. So brand personality, that's tip 2. Tip 3, over to Vince for this one.
Yeah, obviously it's very important to create a sense of unique, distinctive identity. A lot of organizations these days are actually in the process of reduction. You know, in the early days, long time ago, when there was heraldry, with incredible detail, and that detail was what told the story within the mark of the brand. It's really interesting because over the years, what's happened is people have been reducing the detail, and we've now down to, if you look at all the major brands like Google, Facebook, etc., Pinterest, they've really reduced it down to a typeface and a color. And as a startup, it's important to, without a kind of established brand in the market, without kind of people knowing who you are, to start in such a simple way, I don't think that's necessarily very ownable. And it's really important to own your brand and your identity and create a distinctive one.
Also makes it easier to trademark and protect your IP.
Yeah, exactly.
This is, some of you might have come across this before, the Ehrenberg Bass Institute.
Oh.
And this is what all brands are looking for, is, are there particular icons or colors, words, fonts, etc. And that really helps to ensure that you're recognizable, there's salience and awareness, and really to build your brand. And some examples of our work, we've helped the Australian National Maritime Museum. We helped them to transition their brand into something that connected better with people, and renamed it the museum, really connecting it to what it is and what it does, and moving away, Vince was saying, from that sort of heraldry and big institute to something that is much more connected. So I worked with them.
Yeah. Always exciting to see, you know, one of our logos at that scale on a building. That's really, really cool.
And then another piece of work that we've launched recently is working with an investment and advisory firm who came to us, called Nexus Initiative, which again was very similar to lots of other organizations, lots of other brands in their marketplace. We helped them to create a brand that was unique and distinctive, and renamed them Beckon Capital. And you can see the distinctive elements we've created there. So our B, that's all about igniting potential, and something that is instantly recognizable in the market. So immediately their brand is building salience and awareness. All right, number 4, we're rapidly running out of time, so I'm going to rattle through this. So number 4 is taking that time to create a brand framework. And again, that doesn't have to be this really long document, but it's something that allows you to document your why, your how, and your what. So what are we here for? And it does take some discipline and some strategic decision making to really define it. Airbnb's, their blueprint, for example, their why, their how, and their what. So take some time to really define that. And obviously it can be iterative as you go, but having something to start with. And then final tip is a toolkit or a style guide. So of course your job is finding ways to grow market share, to grow your organization, to get your product where you need it to get to. But having a well-defined brand and a toolkit of assets can make that job easier. So defining and creating a toolkit like this. In the old days, we used to create big, thick PDF documents with logo rules and guidelines. Today, we've moved more into creating brand experiences. So we use Figma, and people navigate their way through like a website. So really, you've got on the first column, it's what your brand is about, what you stand for. That's where you document your why, your how, and your what. And then how to use your brand voice, what your principles are, your identity and your logo, brand expression, how it comes to life, typography and color. So these are the key ingredients. Like if you've got a recipe for a brand, these are the key ingredients.
And they continue to grow too as well. So it's not, once your brand is set up and you've got these guidelines like we just showed you, your brand is dynamic. So it'll continue to grow over time. So this is a very flexible approach to doing that, maintaining that.
Really, it's acknowledging that you do need support. You will be working with designers, you'll be working with writers, marketeers, digital marketing. So it means that you can share something with them. They immediately get what your brand is all about and then can take you to market in a consistent and coherent way, ultimately freeing you up for your next idea. So in summary, done right, your brand can be an asset. It can create fans and stir emotions. It can give people a reason to choose you and to make you stand out. Can also help you avoid that inconsistent or wasted spend with marketing. And then ultimately lets you spend your time on your next big idea. So getting the brand right at the outset. And our 5 tips for starting right: define your why, establish your brand personality, design a distinctive visual and verbal identity, define your brand framework, and then create and share your brand toolkit. So those are our 5 tips.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was really great. I learned quite a bit myself. So we've got quite a few questions that have come through where I'm going to pick out just a couple of them. So we've got one here from Amit. So he said, given early stage startups are constantly evolving in terms of who they are and what they stand for, how does one think about brand in such a fluid state of business?
Yeah, great question. And the purpose of ensuring that there is a brand strategy in place is really to facilitate that growth and flex and iteration. So ensuring that when you do think about your why, your how, and your what, that there is enough latitude in the statements to allow you to grow and to flex. If you think about Tesla's purpose, it's to accelerate the move to sustainable energy. That allows them to move within that whole space and ideate and create new ideas and product verticals within that whole space. So ensuring that when you do define it, that it's a broad why that does allow for growth.
Do you have any examples of early stage startups that have invested in brand successfully?
Every brand that we work with.
Good answer, Deb.
Yeah, over to you, Vince.
No, I think Beckon has been incredibly successful, hasn't it, for them? And also Oz Harvest it was a startup at one stage, and that's been incredibly successful. Obviously, it's not just down to the brand, but it's down to the individual leading that, the values, the purpose, and all the people supporting, making that a success. But there's a whole bunch of others. Deb, do you want to mention a few more?
Yeah, we work really closely with the founder of Keep Cup, Abigail. So that, again, wonderful visionary entrepreneur who really needed investment in the brand to ensure that they retained that position as leading the reuse revolution. And Pollination is an investment and advisory firm that we helped to launch this time last year. Really successful. As I said, they're now in 12 countries around the world, and they use their brand in all kinds of ways, particularly to ensure that they're attracting the right kind of talent. So they use the values that we help them to define and create to grow their organization in a way that has a cohesive culture as well. And I'm working with Hijack. So that was the pet accessories brand that we helped to define. They came to us called Andre Bark's Charlie Meows, with quite a different proposition that was very much focused on a product. So helping them to really define their why we should doing this, why was it important? And we came up with the brand idea, refreshingly unconventional. So everything they do is unconventional, which is why we came up with the name Hijack as well. So the brand framework and the brand strategy really does become this driving force to help make strategic and creative decisions.
Mm.
Love it. So one last question here. How do you measure the success of a brand? Is it awareness, SOV, or something sharper?
Great question.
Great question.
And something that is really close to our hearts to ensure that we're giving people confidence and measuring the effectiveness of branding. Yeah, there are lots of ways to measure and ways of splitting those as well. So there are some brand measures, which is stand out in the market, salience. So do people connect us with a particular meaning or understand what we're about? And then there are commercial measures, of course, and those are around increase in sales. Has the brand contributed to that sales funnel? And then there are also cultural measures. So are we attracting talent? Do people want to come and work for us? Are we getting lots of applications through our recruitment, etc.? So there are different levels of measures, but obviously for a startup, getting return on investment is so important, and that commercial injection is really important as well.
We're actually looking at a whole array of ways at the moment, just around that. How do we track that better? So as an organization ourselves, we're just going to continue to try to improve how do we actually design successful outcomes. It's really important to us as well.
Yeah, awareness is one measure. It's not something that we look at an awful lot because it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It doesn't necessarily translate into commercial or cultural outcomes. So yeah, we like some harder measures and obviously behavioral measures as well. What are people actually doing as a result?
Awesome. Thank you so much. So that went so quickly. I just want to say a big thank you to you, Vince and Debbie, for taking the time to join us this morning and for your presentation and all of your advice. It was absolutely awesome. So I can see you've got some contact there, details if anyone wants to get in touch with you. I really appreciate it. It was great. So we've got a bit of an announcement after close to a year of running these Giants Weekly events. Next week will actually be our final event for a while. So we're going to press pause on this format and concentrate on building our Giants community and some other programming. So I know some of you who are on the call today are involved in the Giants community. I'd really suggest you to check that out. But if you want to hear more, Mel and I will be running a special AMA session next Tuesday to take you through all of our Blackbird community plans and how you can be a part of them. So look forward to seeing you there. Thanks again to Vince and Debbie, and have a great day, everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Danny. Bye-bye.
Cool.
Bye.
Bye.